One. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Very grateful, very humble to be joined by Max Egan. Max is from the Crowhouse. I was watching Max's stuff over the last 5 years. His walk and talks. It's just I've always wanted to have Max on. It's been 2 years, and Max, welcome to my platform, mate. A lot of my listeners and viewers are much younger, so they won't know who you are. So please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your journey, and we'll have an awesome chat today. So, mate, welcome and thank you for jumping on.
Pleasure to be here, Nathan. Nice to know you're a friend of Dale Holmes. Actually, I've got a lot of young people in my audience, so you never know
Ah, true.
who would know me and who wouldn't.
Yep.
But I've just been kind of living on the outside of society for most of my life. I left school like halfway through the third year of high school. I figured is teaching me shit, so I'm out of here. And I became a musician and kind of spent most of my life traveling on the road and stuff like that. I've always kind of lived on the outside of society and observed the freak show. I mean, I could see all the stuff, the government corruption, where we were headed back in high school, which is why I got kicked out of four high schools in my first 3 years of school because I spent most of my time arguing with the teachers because they weren't teaching me anything. They was training me to be a little cog in the big machine, and I could see that back then. And I was predicting where the world was going. Like every time they bring in new legislation, or they're not making anything better, they're just taking more of your freedoms away, and it's happening at a this progressive thing. And if we don't pay attention to it, then by the turn of the century, we're going to be living in Orwell's 1984. This is what I was saying back in school days. I was a few years out with the turn of the century stuff, but we're kind of heading there now. And then, like so many others, when the 9/11 investigating and observing the freak show, it no longer it wasn't a hobby from that point. It was it became necessary to start speaking out about all this stuff. So I kind of left music and stepped onto the path of activism just because it needs to be done. And I've been kind of screaming out the warning bells about where the world's going for the last 20, 30 years, doing it online for the last probably 18 or 19, and reached a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are getting it now. And we're in unprecedented times, really. We're in times where people really do need to stand up and pay attention and address this criminal class which has overtaken all of our governments in Western countries, and that's what it is. I mean, if you look at government, I call it a multinational, generational criminal cabal masquerading as a system of governments and nations, which is playing all the people off against each other. And it's moving us into this slavery system under the guise of protecting us from climate change and all the other crap, whatever they can think up. But it's about enslaving the entire population, and it's happening right now. And it's getting so much in your face now that it can't really be denied. So, I mean, we do what we have to do, brother. Same as you for doing this podcast. I mean, you see the world for what it is, and it gets to a point where you have to stand up and call it. Now, I actually observed it when I was really, really young. Like when I was 4, I figured something was terribly wrong with the world. And by the time I got through 3 years of high school, I just went, this is crazy. So I stepped outside the whole thing and just, like I said, watched it as a hobby. And I became a musician, traveled around the world, did all sorts of stuff. Um, and yeah, it just became obvious in 2001. So, I mean, you can't know all this stuff and not speak about it, which is exactly why you're doing what you're doing as well. So, and we're seeing more and more independent people popping up with podcasts and wanting to talk about this, which is really good to see. We're at a turning point in history, brother, and it's kind of I'm not in fear of any of it. It's a privilege to be here
Mm.
through the Great Awakening because that's what's happening. The world is waking up. And that's why they're moving so fast with the system as well, trying to lock everybody down and staging all these attacks and events and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, but anyway,
Yeah, love it. Yeah. I just want to reiterate the same thing, and I listened to you very early on in my journey, trying to piece together everything that was going on, and you put it in such a way that was so understandable and so authentic and so real that it just made everything that you were saying back then made sense. But then a lot of the things that you've said have obviously come true in the last like 30 years as well. I just wanted to ask you, mate, like,
Mm.
what do you see happening as, everyone says 2030, you're right, the 2030 agenda, all those things. What do you see coming in the next 5 years? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it evil? Like, what's coming and how can we best sidestep whatever that may be as well?
Yeah, well, whether it's good or bad depends on us. I mean, it
That's
depends on
true.
how much people stand up. I mean, what they want to bring in
Mm.
is mass surveillance. You'll need biometrics to even log online. Everything's going to be biometric. Everything's going to be digitally tracked and traced. I'd like to see you in a smart city, 15-minute city, where you don't have to travel any further than 15 minutes from your home to get everything you need. And the point of creating an environment like that is because then they can lock you down into that 15-minute city. Just call a new pandemic or whatever. And then they want you in electric cars with digital currency. So it'll get to the point if they tell you there's a lockdown or there's something going on within your 15-minute city and you have to stay there, you won't be able to travel outside the boundaries of that 15-minute zone. As soon as you do, your car will either stop working or it will do a U-turn and go back. And if you try to buy anything outside your 15-minute zone, your credit card won't work because they want all digital currency. And if you're speaking out and doing podcasts like this, well, they can shut your bank account down. They can lock you out of your life, essentially. They can ban your biometrics from using the internet. They can ban your like facial recognition at airports, bus terminals. They're even now in the UK, they're bringing in you've got to show ID to shop in a supermarket. Okay. Soon
Mm.
that will be biometrics. They do it step by step by step. You'll need biometrics going to supermarkets. Even people that are stepping outside the system and using cryptocurrency, which is a good thing. But soon, if you can't access your cryptocurrency because you can't log online, that's
Mm.
going to be a problem. If your digital device, your phone, your laptop, or whatever, if the only way to log on is biometrically, and your biometrics are banned from using the internet, then you're basically locked out of life because everything's going online. And that's where they want to take it. They want to get it to a situation where you can't complain because if you do, we'll just cancel you. This whole cancel culture, how they got away with see the little things they put in people's minds, and then it just becomes the norm for anybody. Oh,
Mm.
you're speaking out against the government. You can't be criticizing Trump. Trump is saving the world. Click, and suddenly you're locked out and you're cancelled, and it doesn't matter what you say. I mean, they've been kind of doing it. I had a YouTube channel with 243,000 subscribers, 29 million views, and they just switched me off one day. And suddenly I'm over on BitChute and I'm on these other smaller platforms where people can't really find your work unless they're awake and they know the platform exists, but you can't reach the general public. I've been banned from Facebook, banned from YouTube, banned from SoundCloud, banned from LinkedIn, from iTunes, from iHeart, like virtually everywhere. All I've got left is BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. That's about it. I'm allowed back on X, which is interesting. I've been banned four
Mm.
times on X, but I'm back there. And they just reopened my YouTube channel the other day as well, which is
Oh.
crazy. 5 years. I went there, my channel's back up. And I thought, I wonder if I can upload to it. And I clicked upload. It said, well, let's just check who you are. Give us your phone number. And I'm like, ah, yeah,
Ah.
right. Then you got the number and you've got whatever is attached to that number, whether you've used that for your bank accounts or whether you're using it to apply for visas or any of this sort of stuff, all attached to that phone number. So, this is why they want your number. So I'm just going to leave that there and as a monument. And but I'm not going to be uploading any videos to it because I mean, with what I say, they'll just cancel me again. As soon as I put up my first video and I say some of the stuff I say on my videos, they're just going to block the channel again. And now they've got my phone number. So, it's kind of a trap.
Mm.
And I mean, that's where they want to take us. But it's going to depend on what we do. It all depends on us. I mean, everything that's gone wrong in the world has really been a result of us failing to take responsibility for ourselves. And you look at what's happened over the last 50 years, the vilification of males, you're
Yep.
an alpha male, you're toxic, you're this. So we don't have strong males anymore. 50 to 100 years ago, there's no way the government would have been able to get away with what they're doing because the people would have stood up and dragged them out on the street and hung them from the nearest lamppost. And you just can't do this type of thing. We don't employ you to treat us this way. We're basically in an abusive relationship with these people, and it would have been caught 50, 60 years ago. But no, they've broke down the family unit. They've told males they're toxic. They've taught females to hate males and be scared of males. and they've taught white people to hate themselves and be shamed of everything we've done, which is like we've built society. It's gone from like all the Western countries and all the developed countries were built by white people. There used to be the white population like 100 years ago was about 50% or 56% in all of our countries. It was like 56% of the world, and now we're down to about 8% or 7% of like if you look at ethnic groups and look at what do they call it? I can't even think of the
Hmm.
word, but the the smallest the smallest group of people,
Minority.
it's white people, the minorities, yeah,
Yeah.
ethnic minorities. That's the word I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Thank you. If you look at ethnic minorities, white people are the ethnic minority on the earth now. And all of our countries are being overrun with migrants, which is being done deliberately. They're bringing in
Yeah.
something like 1,540 migrants every day into Australia, but 560,000 a year they're bringing in from India and Pakistan and Africa. The government's just offered, if you're from Papua New Guinea and it's like 60,000 people or something like that,
Mm.
that they want to bring into the country and say, if you want to come to live in Australia, just come in and join our military and you can have Australian citizenship. And bringing all these migrants in the way, like people who want to immigrate to Australia in the past, it'd take you 2 years to get approved to immigrate into Australia. You'd have to have skills that we wanted in the country. You'd have to be well financially secure, so you're not going to be a drain on the country. They really used to scrutinise people. Australia is one of the hardest places to immigrate to in the world, the hardest place in the world to even get a visa to come and visit. And yet suddenly they're just bringing people in
Mm.
from all over the place who aren't skilled and they're just bringing them in. And this has been done deliberately. And it's been done in all Western countries. It's been done in America, been done in the UK, in Ireland, Scotland, New Zealand, all European countries. This is happening to. Europe is flooded with Africans and all sorts of people, Asian people, you know. And it's not being racist talking about this. There's a deliberate plan underway to merge all races together to get rid of white culture because it was determined a long time ago when you look at the history of European people that we were the only ones who would stand up against this system that they want to roll out. And so that's why they are working very hard to destroy all white cultures, all white nationalism, dilute Australia to the point that it doesn't feel like Australia anymore. Do the same thing to Sweden, the same thing to France, the same thing to Germany. So there's no national pride. That way it gets diluted. There's no uprising against the government. And that's what they want. So, but what we're seeing now, I mean, there's this huge march going on in Australia, I think today or tomorrow.
Yep.
And I think there's another one in September as well, and they're protesting against the immigrant situation. And I think they're talking about expressing a loss of confidence, calling no confidence in the Australian government, which is what needs to happen. It needs to happen right around the world. And all these countries are on the edge. Like the UK is a tinderbox at the moment. Keir Starmer in the UK, like he's only been in there a year, and he's completely just like the same as what Trump's doing. So, I mean, a lot of Western countries, England, even Australia, New Zealand, a lot of these countries are on the verge of revolution. People have had enough, and
Mm.
so it's going to depend on us. I don't think we need revolution. I don't think we need violence. I think we can do it by calling loss of confidence. The thing is, the police is the problem because the police don't serve the people anymore. The police just enforce law, regardless of how corrupt that law is. The police are mainly the government bodyguards now, rather than the protectors of the people. They've all been militarized over the last 20 years. I mean, back 20 years ago, cops were wearing little blue shirts around and ties and, they had batons. Now they're in black Kevlar, they're in body armor, they got helmets, they got bulletproof vests on, they got machine guns. So, when I was in the airport, I came into Australia in March and they searched through all my baggage and shit. And two cops came to the airport to tell me my shooter's license has been cancelled, which I already knew. And they wanted me to hand it over. But they looked like the same as cops look in the United States, same as what they look in Europe. I mean, they were in black Kevlar, they were in body armor, and one guy was holding a machine gun. How did this happen in Australia?
Yeah.
We've been disarmed. Australian people have been disarmed. There's hardly any guns anywhere. You get caught with a freaking pocket knife in your bag and you get in trouble. And yet the cops, they look like Gestapo. It's insane, and it's right around the world. So what do you do against that? You've got to call no confidence in your government because they're the biggest problem. It's so difficult for us to prosecute our politicians for their abuse of office and their breach of trust, everything that they've done, which is breach of trust, and it's abuse of office. They're using the offices that they hold to give themselves power and authorities that they are not entitled to. And all the stuff the government does. I mean, they say they get the power from the people. We're a democracy. We get our power from the power that you grant us. But I don't have the power to extort money from you and tell you that if you won't give me my extortion money, I'm going to get Dale Holmes to come and beat you up and drag you off and put you in a cage.
Mm.
I can't tell you, I don't have that authority to do that to you. So if I don't have that authority, we don't have the authority to extort our neighbours and put them in cages if they won't comply. How can we grant that authority to government? They don't get it from us. They just make it up. They
Mm.
get in the office and they make all this shit up and then they just inflict it on the people. This is abuse of office. This is one of the most serious crimes a politician can call. But they keep us all distracted with all this stuff. The genocide in Gaza, which is horrific.
Yep.
The housing costs in Australia, the
Yeah.
immigrant situation, all this sort of stuff. All this stuff that they do deliberately. And then they put blacks against whites and have all these ethnic groups hate the Muslims, hate the Christians, hate the Jews, all this stuff. And the men in small hats, there's a lot that they're doing, which is very, very bad. All of this migrant issue is actually one of their plans. There's a plan that came out in 1925. There was a book written called Practical Idealism by a guy called Richard Coldenhover Kalergi. And it's called the Kalergi Plan, and is a plan to genocide the people of European descent via mass migration. This was put out in 1925. That's
Mm.
what we're seeing right around the world.
Yeah.
Even you got people like Pauline Hanson saying, it's a terrible Muslim invasion that's happening, but at the same time she's supporting Israel in their genocide of Gaza, probably not realizing that the Muslim invasion and the African invasion and all this immigration that's happening is happening according to the Jewish Kalergi plan written in 1925. And this is happening all around Europe. So we've got to see this for what it is. This is one big play. It's a criminal class, and we need to express a loss of confidence in all of our governments, and we need to institute new government. The problem is that people are terrified of
Yeah.
ever expressing any power. They're terrified of what will happen to them. And we've got this brick wall of stupidity, which is the Australian police force and the British police force, all of these people who are standing between us and ever holding our politicians to account. So that's the situation we're in. People have got to realise the power that they've got and stop complying with it. If you're a contractor out there and you work for government, quit. Go and work for somebody else. If you're a secretary in a government office, quit. Go work for somebody else. Don't support these people. If you own a restaurant or a hardware store or anything where any of these politicians come to buy stuff off you, tell them they're not welcome in your store. Tell them they got to go somewhere else. Like they've been doing to Dan Andrews in
Yeah.
Victoria. He can't go out and do anything. This needs to happen with every single politician in the country. They are all in abuse of office. Every single hardship that the people of Australia are facing because it was legislated to be there. And it's all being done deliberately. It's all leading to this system of control. But they keep you all tied up with all this shit's going on. It's so confusing and there's so much to be concerned about. And while that's happening, bringing in the biometrics, bringing in the police, robot dogs, bringing in the facial recognition. Biometrics all international airports now. I've been traveling a bit, and whenever I take an international flight, it's biometrics now. I don't even need to show my passport at the plane or a
Wow.
boarding pass or anything. They just take a photograph of me, a little green check comes up and the gate opens. Any international flights from Australia to LA, from LA to Australia, from New York to Croatia, probably from when I leave Croatia and go back to New York. So that's what's happening right around the world. All this stuff is being rolled out underneath everything,
Mm.
gradually removing cash from everywhere in Australia, bringing in self-checkouts, so they want to move you into this 15-minute stuff, electric cars, digital currency, all this sort of stuff. And this is all happening underneath all this confusion that they're giving you to be worried about. So you've got to sort of put it on a bigger scale. And like I said, it's very difficult to prosecute the police because you've got this brick wall of stupidity there. I mean, the cops in Australia, if you score over 104 on the police induction exam on your IQ, that you won't get admitted into the police force if you've got an IQ over 104, which they tell you is intelligent now. No, it's not. This blockhead, people with 104 IQ, like that's not real smart, okay? We commonly have IQs of 120 and 130 in high school when I was a kid. But they want these people just smart enough to do the paperwork. And even the cops, they tie them up with paperwork and all this stuff they've got to do. Like a lot of what being a cop is spending freaking 7 hours doing office work all day. It's
Hmm.
crazy. And then they're frustrated, so they go out and they kick the shit out of everybody that they can, and they're in this club with each other, this peer group, and they're told that the people are all the enemies, and they're not real smart, and they don't really realize what they're doing. They think that they're, upholding the law, and new laws are coming in all the time, which just grant more powers to the politicians. It's crazy. So, like I said, it's very difficult to go in and try to find a way through that. So what we've got to do is start pulling all support from these people away from them in every way that we possibly can. Like I said, if you're someone who works for them, quit, go get another job. You know, we've got to stop complying with all of this stuff. It's really the only way out. But people are scared. One of the things that terrifies people more than anything is expressing their own power. They all want to be free, but they don't understand what freedom really is. Freedom is self-responsibility, which is what I've tried to do with my life. I just, like we were talking before we went on air, you throw yourself to the wind and you can ride it. As long as you believe in yourself. And I've always believed in myself ever since I was a kid. So I got kicked out of so many high schools. And even when that happened, I had no trade, I had no nothing, but I loved music. So I went and started working in bands. And I lived it like that for 30 years. So just believe in yourself and don't respect authority that is not just. I mean, we give our authority to these people. We respect their authority, but they're all in abuses of the offices that they hold. And another thing, I mean, all this the support that they're giving for the state of Israel while it's carrying out a genocide of Palestine,
Mm.
live stream genocide for the last 2 years. Isn't it against the law to support war crimes? There's a TikTok site with 13,000, over like 14,000 now, videos of Israeli war crimes.
Mm.
And it's the Israeli soldiers filming their war crimes themselves and posting it on social media. You
Yep.
don't even have to go and chase them. They film it themselves and they post it for you to see. If your government is supporting this, then your government has abdicated its privilege to govern because it is a privilege to govern a nation. It's not a right. It's a privilege. And Australia's been hijacked long ago anyway. I mean, in 1973, the Australian government incorporated,
Yep.
introduced the Queen of Australia and all this sort of shit, which is all invalid, all illegal. I mean, they're not even following their own laws. It's all contract law. And that's another thing you could do. Remove yourself from the electoral roll
Yeah.
because the Australian government is a corporation. And how you do this for your listeners out there, if you want to get off the electoral roll, you can go to the Securities and Indexes Exchange. It's I think it's in Washington, or it might be in New York. I think it's Washington, D.C. And you'll find the Commonwealth Government of Australia or the Australian Commonwealth Government, one of them, there's two, you see. One's de jure and the other one is a corporation. I forget which one. But you'll find them listed on the Securities and Indexes Exchange. You can get the corporate number, the number of the corporation. And what you do, and this is what my sister did, you write to the government in a registered mail so that you've got record of it being sent, and you say, I'd like to be removed from the electoral roll. And they'll write back to you and they'll say, no, you can't be removed. It's compulsory. And then you write back to them again, registered mail, and you point out, well, okay, well, since the Australian government is a corporation, and here's the corporate number of the Australian government, and under corporate law, only shareholders of the corporation allowed to vote for the new CEO, because that's basically what you're doing when you vote in a federal election. You're voting in the new CEO of the Australian corporation. So we're seeing it's a corporation, and by corporate law, only shareholders are able to vote. The fact that it's compulsory for me to vote would indicate that I'm a shareholder in the company. So if you don't have my bank account details, where can I send them to? And when can I expect my first payment of dividends from the corporation? And by the way, because I've been a member of this corporation since I was 18 and didn't know, I'd like to be back paid for all the years from when I was 18. And she did that to the government, and then they didn't write back to her after that. And then she went like a month later and checked the electoral roll, and her name had been removed from it. They're not going to respond to that. When you lay it out for them like that, which is the absolute truth, you're a shareholder, therefore you are entitled to dividends, which is why the politicians are paid so much, because they're taking all your dividends, because they think they own you through the birth certificate, and like it's a complicated thing.
Mhm.
But that basic understanding that it's a corporation, and you can get yourself removed from the electoral roll by pointing it out and asking for your dividends. It would be great to see all Australians do that. So the next time there's an election, nobody votes. Everyone's taken themselves off the electoral roll. No one wants to participate in the fraud anymore, you know. And like I
Mm.
said, if you work for them, stop working for them. Stop serving them in your stores. Stop selling them petrol. Stop selling them anything. Stop having anything to do with these people. They are criminals. Exhibit A, Australia. Look what they have done to that country. Think back in the 70s when we had our own service stations, Golden Fleece. We had Holdens. We used to make our own cars. We were
Mhm.
an independent nation, a prosperous nation, a happy nation back in the 60s and 70s. And look what it is now. It's unrecognizable. And it's all been legislated to happen. So, you know, with everything that's going on, see, if we try to go to court and challenge them in court, the police come in, they get thuggish, you know, they indulge in violence. It's important that we don't get violent with anything we do. But then if the police come and they start acting like thugs, well, maybe we would have to resort to counter violence. But the violence always comes from the police. Even with these rallies that are happening today or tomorrow, saying there's going to be a massive police presence, any hint of violence, the violence is always 100% of the time started by the police. Every one of these protests. So be really careful of that. But anyway, I'm rambling, so I'll let you have a few words.
No, I agree with everything you said, and I got off. I actually was off the electoral roll myself. I just haven't voted for like since 2019, and I wrote a letter. Well, I watched one of your walk and talks from early 2020, and you said just write in a letter and call them all criminal pedophiles. I did that and got taken off.
Well, there you go. They are. They're criminals. They're
They are.
pedophiles,
Yeah,
child
they are.
traffickers.
Yep.
It's hideous what the
Mm,
government has done.
it
But
is.
yeah, but there's so many people around the world now. There's huge rallies and rallies for Palestine everywhere. Like tens of thousands of people, which is why we saw this shooting in Minnesota the other day.
And
A guy
Melbourne
had
too. There was one in
anti-Jewish.
Victoria.
Yeah, he had all these anti-Jewish slogans all over his gun. Like this is a transgender guy of Jewish descent whose
Yep.
father had all sorts of CIA connections, and he's gone and shot up a Catholic school, as people who are protesting Israel do, I guess, and then left the weapons there, and they've got anti-Jewish slogans all over it, you know. And then what's happened in Australia with the I was
Yep.
pointing out on my last video, when you see the Palestine marches, there were guys who were going in there holding up posters of the Ayatollah. And this is
Really.
like when they marched across Sydney Harbour Bridge and stuff. The
Mm.
Ayatollah of Iran. What's that poster doing there at a rally for Palestine? You
Yeah.
know. And then we saw like before that we saw the fire bombings of the synagogues in Melbourne. And as
Yes.
soon as like the Adas synagogue fireboming, I said, this is at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, they were trying to kill Jews. No, they weren't. It was at 3 o'clock in the morning. There was nobody there. If you're
Mm.
going to firebomb something, you don't do it while it's empty at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a staged event. The only people who can benefit from this event happening is Israel, because there's so many people who are protesting the genocide of Gaza. So they're losing their victim status. So they need to do this. They stage these attacks against themselves all the time, like all the time. They got a record of it. You know, they're very, very good at it. They're the inventors of modern terrorism, and they admit that.
Mm.
You know, so um, I said that this has been done by some Israeli agent, and then we see. the protests about across the bridge, the posters of the Ayatollah, and then right on cue, we have the Australian government, after they've said we're going to recognise a Palestinian state, trying to appease the people because there's so many protests saying, why aren't you standing up against genocide? So, Albanese's got to go out there and say, yes, yes, we're going to recognise a Palestinian state. And you can't have any of this happening. And so they portray themselves as the good guys to the people while they're bringing in all these immigrants and all this other shit they're doing. And then suddenly you have the Australian government say, oh, it was the Iranians. We've got intelligence that says it was the Iranians, so we're closing the Iranian ministry and sending the ambassador home, expelling the ambassador. Well, how did you find out it was the Iranians? Well, Israeli intelligence told us. I mean, come on. That's just basically saying it's Israel. Why would the Iranians want to blow up or firebomb a synagogue in Melbourne? How are they going to benefit from that? The only people who benefit from that is Israel. So right on cue, this happens. And so, they're trying to portray the Iranians as the bad guys, all this, because they're trying to. And now you look at the Palestinian protests, well, there were pictures of the Ayatollah there. So maybe it's Iran who's puppeteering the Palestinians to go and attack Israel. It's the wrong. Israel's been attacking and decimating the Palestinians for 76 years. This war's been ongoing. It hasn't stopped. I mean, it's such a puppet show. And then we've got the shooting in
I
Victoria.
was about to mention
We've got
that.
these rallies happening today or tomorrow. And a week before that shooting in Victoria, there was a special on the ABC in Australia about sovereign
Yes,
citizens
there
and
was Four
people
Corners.
are a threat to the country. Four corners, yeah.
Yeah.
And then 1 week after that, we see this whole shooting, and we're told that this guy who calls himself a sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron, there's
Mm,
no one in the sovereign movement who would call themselves a sovereign citizen because it's an oxymoron. A sovereign is not a citizen. These are two opposite things. So this is
correct.
the way the media portrays it. Sovereign citizens. It's like conspiracy theorists. They put these things together to confuse the issue. And uh, so this happens 1 week after that event and 1 week before we've got these rallies to protest immigration and express a loss of confidence in the government, you know. And you have neo-Nazis show up at these rallies and all sorts of stuff. You watch, they'll get hijacked. So, I mean, rallies are good to show solidarity, to show there's people out there who think like you and to inspire you. But if what's the rally going to do? Is it going to march through town and people are going to hold up banners and shout slogans and shake their fists? And what are they going to go to a park at the end and then there'll be a few speakers get up there and give them a little lip service? I'll go home saying, "Wow, I really made a difference today." No, you didn't. If you're going to have these rallies, you need to march to Parliament House while it's in session and express a loss of confidence in those people within the building and have them come outside and explain themselves to you, explain to you why you should not express a loss of confidence and hold them in abuse of office and breach of trust and dismiss them immediately. Show cause why we should not do this due to your own actions. That's what needs to happen. If you're not marching to Parliament House to call these criminals out for what they are, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
But of course, again, if you do that, you're going to have a wall of brain dead police there trying to stop you ever calling them out or doing anything. They'll call it a violent attack against Parliament House, all sorts of crap like that. Stage something like they did with Julia Gillard. When Julia Gillard, she got ushered out of that building. There's nobody around them. When you see the videos of that, Julia Gillard being hustled out of the building by the cops, the only people around her are cops. There's like
Mm,
about 10 cops around her, and they're all jumping up and down and stuff and pretending that something's going on. Nothing's going on. There's no crowd. There's no people. The whole thing was staged for the camera.
mm.
So they cook all this shit up. So again, what do you do in this situation? The best form of non-compliance, the best form of protest is non-compliance. Like through COVID, I didn't wear a mask.
Neither
I
did I.
didn't stay home when I was told. I went out every night and did stuff. They told me I couldn't go more than 5 kilometres from my home. I started going to national parks and doing walks there, making sure I went more than 5 kilometres from my home. I never did one single thing that they told me to do. I just lived my life normally. It was actually easier to go places because there was no one on the roads. I never wore a mask. I travelled from Australia to Mexico in 2020 or
Mm.
21. I never wore a mask the whole time. Never took the jab. Never had any swabs. I mean, shouldn't we all be dead if we didn't take the jab? I mean, what's going on there? And So I mean that's what you've got to do. So I mean the future depends on us.
Mm.
People have got to stand up and they've got to believe in themselves. This has been the point of all the shows that I've done since I started in 2008. I mean, a lot of my early shows were all about spirituality and self-empowerment and um, to rediscover yourself. Remember who and what you are. Remember that these people are just your employees. You don't actually have to go along with any of this. And if you don't say something about it or stand up against it, then it's tacit agreement. So you've got to believe in yourself. But like I said, most people are terrified. They want to be told what to do. They want to, even if they don't like what the government's doing, they'll say, well, we're going to tell this government they're in abusive office and dismiss them, and we'll put these guys in place to
Yeah.
look after us, We'll have a new ruler because they're terrified of ever having to rule themselves. They claim they want freedom, but when they understand what freedom is, which is self-responsibility, it freaks them out. That's the problem. The education system. I mean, it's we're at a turning point, brother. We're at a real turning point, and it's going to depend on us. It's good to see the amount of rallies and the amount of pushback there is. I mean, there's so many people doing so many things in the UK, in the United States, in Australia. The United States has been pretty cooked though by Trump.
Yeah.
They did a, they did a real good job on the paper with that.
Mm.
I mean, and I said back in 2016, this guy is such a player.
Mm.
And that fake assassination, this was fake, folks. I mean, it's fake. Like cartilage. Cartilage doesn't grow back. It doesn't heal. 8 days after the event, he takes the patch off and there's no scar. There's nothing. This was so staged. They did all this stuff. They raided his house. Made him look like he wasn't part of the deep state, that he's actually going to drain the swamp. Well, when he got in there, he drained the swamp into the White House. He just renamed the swamp to government protected wetlands. And now he's like bringing in martial law. He's putting all these tariffs on everything.
Mm.
And the tariffs, the people think, oh, he's brought trillions of dollars into the country. No, he hasn't. He's taken trillions of dollars from the American people and put it into the coffers of the government. It's what he's done.
Yeah, he's
He
playing
was given
5D
these
chess.
tariffs. Yeah, well, yeah. It's like 5-day, 14 level fucking 3D chess. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
But it's like people think a tariff. Oh, he's making the companies outside the country pay to send their goods here. No, he's not. He's just putting a tax on them. A tariff is paid by the people of the country. If you've got Nike in Japan sending sneakers to the United States, and it costs them $5 a parcel to send it in there, they're not paying any more. Donald Trump's just putting an extra $5 on that. So these things that are items that come in that are like $200 or $300 items, now suddenly they cost $400 or $600 for the item, and they think, wow, that's what he's doing. The other country's paying that. No, it's the American people. A tariff is simply a tax. That's all it is. The government is doubling the price, or they're putting 25% more on the price to try to encourage you not to buy from that country and to buy American-made stuff. But what if America doesn't make this stuff, and you want that particular item? That's all a tariff is. It's to try to discourage you from buying foreign-made goods. So they put a tax on it that you pay. Some of the stuff that is put on there, oh, Russia does this, I'm going to put a 300% tariff on their items. That just means the people in the United States have a 300% tax on that item that they want to buy. Doesn't cost Russia a cent. Doesn't cost any of these other countries 1 cent. Trump hasn't bought 1 single cent into the country through his tariffs. What he's done is he has stolen trillions in taxes from the American people, and they're cheering it on.
Mm.
It's incredible. It's incredible. So they've kind of really set Trump up to look like he's there to save the United States. He's just rolling out executive orders. Nothing's going through Congress. He's just dictating what's going to happen. He wants to change the Department of Defense to the Department of War because it
Yep.
sounds strong. He's funding the genocide in Gaza, sending them billions of dollars worth of weapons, totally supporting Israel, which is raping and pillaging and plundering and doing the most horrendous things to the Palestinian people, slowly because they're enjoying the torture. Yeah, he's bringing in the National Guard. He's now changed it so the National Guard is fully armed with machine guns and shit. So he's bringing in a whole police state. They had Elon Musk come in with Doge to
Hmm.
clean up government spending. Closed all these companies and put AI in place of all of that sort of stuff. Plus, he data mined the whole place. Now he's
Yep.
got the record of everything. So big data mining operation, big expulsion of all these people, replace all these companies with AI and bring them into the fold of government. What is fascism? What is a dictatorship? It's when government and corporations are merged together. That's all Trump's doing is he's bringing everything under government control. He's expanding the government massively and people think, oh, he's cleaning up the Fed. He's doing, if he, like the Fed is a corrupt organization, the Federal Reserve Bank, let's face it, it is. And it's a privately run bank. But if Trump gets hold of it and brings it into the fold of government, he's not going to change anything. He's just going to turn it all digital and you're going to see a digital currency roll out real quick to protect the people. And we've got so many illegal immigrants. We're going to have to bring in biometrics. We're going to have to bring in digital IDs, real ID they're bringing now in the United States. All this sort of stuff they're doing. And it's all just bringing it under the control of the government. He's creating a full-blown fascist dictatorship police state and digitizing everything while he's supporting this genocide in the Middle East. And people are just cheering it on. It's incredible,
Mm.
you know. He is such a sellout. Like he's supporting Israel more than he's supporting the people of the United States. You look at the condition of the United States. I don't know whether you've been there lately, but I've been going back and forth to the United States for like 20 years, and to see the condition that it's in now, like Philadelphia, even New York, even Manhattan, piles of garbage everywhere now, and LA is disgraceful.
Yeah.
San Diego smells like urine, center of town. It's incredible to see the decline of the United States. And all this money is being funneled out and going to Israel and going to Ukraine. It's incredible. And the people of the United States are now being hit with tariffs, which is draining the resources of them. And over the whole COVID thing, did anyone notice there were so many plane crashes in the United States, light aircraft and stuff going down?
Mm.
And every time a light aircraft would go down, it'd go down into a food processing plant. You know, it's just remarkable how all this sort of happens. And then they flood out the Appalachians, they flood out all the farmland everywhere, they burn LA.
Yep.
It's uh, it's incredible what's happening.
Trust the plan though,
But
Max.
you what?
Trust the plan.
Trust the plan. Trust the plan. Trump's in there. He's fighting. He's doing what he can. Yeah, yeah, right. Trump got given $260 million by the Israeli lobby before he became president, and 100 million from Miriam Adelston as well. He's a Zionist. He supports Israel more than anything else. And the whole war in the Middle East, the whole war in Gaza has been contrived. Hamas offered to give the hostages back on the second day, as long as Israel would promise no more incursions into Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu said no way. And knowing that nothing they're doing is about rescuing hostages, it's about ethnically cleansing Gaza and so much propaganda around it. But I mean, Israel's losing the propaganda war so much that Benjamin Netanyahu is actually doing a podcast circuit. Like, yeah, if I invited him on the show, he'd probably come on and have a chat, because he's trying to shift the narrative. And that's how desperate they're getting. And people see Israel for what it is now. It's a pariah. It's a terrorist state. And it has no claim to the land. These people are not the real descendants of King Solomon or anything like that. I mean, Benjamin, the whole family is from Poland. I mean, most of the government in the Knesset are all from Poland and Bulgaria and some Australians. And, none of them are from the Middle East. So a lot of people are seeing it now. I don't think Israel will survive what it's doing. I think it's red pilled the whole world, and people can see how much this little country and these people are in control of all of our governments, our banking system, our
Mm.
media, the movies, even in Australia. I mean, the fact, come on, the mosque or the synagogue bombings, you'd found out it was the Iranians from Israeli intelligence. Are you serious?
Mm.
You can't believe anything these people say. They double tapped a hospital the other day by mistake. By mistake. We didn't mean to bomb the 5 journalists and kill 20 people in this hospital. We just hit it with a bomb because we saw a camera in the window. And then they hit it with another bomb as soon as the rescue team arrived in the same place, like full double tapped it. Oh, it was an accident. Yeah, sure it was. It's insane. Some of the stories that are coming out, and so many people are seeing it. It's all over X. I mean, I've been talking about it for 2 years to the point of ad nauseum. I think people are even kind of sick of me talking about Palestine, but they don't have a voice. And I've said for so many years, Palestine is the greatest moral dilemma we face in the world today. Whether you believe in Christians or Muslims or Jews or any of that shit, get all that out of it. These are human beings.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's the greatest moral dilemma we face in the world. And if we cannot look within our hearts to heal this moral dilemma, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. Because the only way the nation of Israel or the state of Israel, the illegitimate state of Israel, the occupying force that calls itself Israel, the only way they're able to get away with what they're doing is because they are funded and supported by all of our governments. And if our governments are going to allow this to happen while they are militarizing our own police and locking our own societies down more and more, then expect it to come to us. If we do not stand up and deal with this and hold these politicians in breach of trust, abuse of office, then this will come to us. I've said many times what you see in Palestine, Gaza, and West Bank is a system of warehousing and surplusing human beings. It's a model. They go in there, they test all their exotic weapons in there. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. They've got a captive population they can treat any way they want. They reduce the food intake of these people. They say, oh, we gave Gaza back to them. Yeah, and you put a big wall around the place and block them off from fishing, and you control everything that goes in or out. There's been times when they've actually measured what the population is and what's the barest minimum of calories needed to keep these people just alive. And that's all they will allow through. I was in Gaza in 2012. I couldn't get crayons for the children. I couldn't get A4 paper. I couldn't get nails to build things with. It's insane the stuff you can't get there. Crayons and A4 paper. Why are
Yeah.
they on the banned list? You know? Just so the children don't have a childhood, you know. So that's what's coming to all of our countries. You see what the governments are doing. You see they're militarizing everything. They're bringing in more legislation. My nephew on the Gold Coast is being, they're putting his rent up. He's got this little two-bedroom shitbox he lives in, a little, 50-year-old house, just sitting there. It's like the oldest house in the street. They're putting his rent up to $1,200 a week soon.
Bullshit.
It- how do you do that? How
Yeah.
can anybody pay that sort of rent? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, in Mexico, I'm paying like $800 a month for a six-bedroom house with a swimming pool. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, six bedrooms, seven bathrooms. I mean, that's what I was paying when I was living in Bonfil last year. So, yeah, how can the people in Australia possibly even survive what the government's doing? And now when they bring in all their 15-minute cities and their electric cars and their digital currency, the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And it will happen because people allowed it to happen, because they never called their governments out as being the criminals that they are, because they never believed in themselves. That's why, like I said, all my early shows were about remembering who and what you are and not doing any of this stuff. That's why I got kicked out of all my schools, because I wouldn't comply with the bullshit they were trying to shove down my throat, and I'd question them on it.
Mm.
Now they give me a lesson on something, say, well, this. I say, excuse me, I've just read a book about all that, and what you're giving us is a theory, and they just say, get out of the class, go up to the office. I had my own desk outside the principal's office for my last 6 months of school because no class would have me. And I was halfway through my grade 10 exams, my third year of high school, halfway through my final year exams, and just thought, what the fuck am I doing here? And I got up and I just walked out and never went back. And yeah.
Told you in good stead, Max. No,
Well, I'm sorry I'm babbling so much,
that's
but it's
okay.
good to talk to Australians and trying to get the people of Australia to stand up. I mean, now's the time they need to do it. So,
100%.
yeah, I'm just really trying to get that message across to us. We're at a turning point, man. We really are. Like I've been predicting all this shit for years.
Yeah.
Even the whole, I mean, transhumanist thing. I put out a film in 2010 where I warned about all this sort of stuff and said they're going to use vaccines to alter you genetically from the inside out and all the shit that they're doing. I'm warning people about smart grid since like 2015. Back in 2015, I said on an interview, I think with Richie Allen, that in 2025, our relationship with the internet is going to change. 2025 AI is going to come online, and our relationship with the internet is going to change. And look what's happened
Yep.
just in the first 6 months of this year. It's been crazy to see the rise of AI, and that's just going to get more and more so. And if they can bring us into this whole smart system they want to by 2030, they will do it. But it's going to depend on us. It's going to depend on whether we comply. Don't shop with digital currency. Always use cash when you go. The fiat system's bad, sure, but make sure cash stays in flow and in use in Australia. Stop taking your smartphones out with you everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Stop pouring your heart out to social media. Stop using AI all the time. I mean, I use social media to spread the word of truth. That's all I do. I don't chat and I don't go to OnlyFans and all this sort of crap, you know. It's another thing they've done, you know. Look, they make living so hard that the easiest way for a girl to survive is to become an online porn star.
Yep.
I mean, what the fuck has happened to our society,
Yep.
you know? And you've got underage girls and shit doing this sort of stuff. And you've
Yeah.
got old women putting on shock filters, making themselves look young doing it. It's just insane what's happened to the world. And there's no relationships anymore. A lot of people aren't even interested in having relationships or having children or anything like that. There's no real world communication. You know, we're being led into this digital reality, which is larger than life, and they're making life more and more bland. Like even in the United States the other day, changing the Cracker Barrel logo. Used to be an old guy sitting, leaning on a barrel in a family store. Now it's just this bland thing. It's been a big uproar about it. Just a bland kind of square sign with Cracker Barrel written on it. They're taking your artistic connection to reality away
Yes.
from everything. That's why the buildings are so square and horrible and black. Like back 100 years ago, even lampposts were ornate. You
Yeah.
know, um, people's front fences are all wrought iron and stuff.
Mm.
Stuff. And the old buildings, incredible. Like beauty was seen as a functional part of something. It's not part of our world anymore. It's bland and it disconnects you. So you want to go online and look at all the pretty stuff that happens on your screen. Put on your virtual reality glasses
Yeah.
and you have that pretty world. Connect you from this world. And bringing in like some of the AI videos, all the women are these incredibly beautiful, sexy little things, so that real women in the world feel like they're, less worthy. All the women's magazines are about how you need to look better and you need this makeup and you need all this sort of stuff. So they've disempowered women, they've disempowered men, and they've totally separated the sexes. Now, LGBTQ and all this sort of crap, what the fuck is all this sort of stuff? All this transgender shit. There's no such thing as transgender. It's impossible for one gender to transition into the other. Whether you're gay or whatever, and you wish you were a female, well, that's just too freaking bad. That's called dysphoria. If you're gay, just be gay. You don't have to pretend you're a woman and take rights away from women and claim that you need pronouns, that I have to call you they, them, when there's only one of you there. You don't have the right to change the way language works. You
Mm.
know, you may have a mental illness, but you don't have the right to inflict your mental illness on me and tell me I need to comply with your delusions. You know, this is what's happening. But now you can't say that. You can't say there's only two genders. You can go to jail for saying that. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Mm.
People want to be gay, be gay. Don't pretend you're something that you can't be. For a man to become a woman or a woman to become a man, you've got to replace the entire skeletal system, the organs, the endocrine system, the chromosomal system. You've virtually got to have a brain implant into a female or male body for this to work. There is no such thing as transgender. There are two genders and dozens upon dozens of mental illnesses is what there are. And this has become part of our reality now. And they're teaching this to kids, little kids,
Yes, they
5-year-old
are.
kids. Or you're a boy or a girl. What the fuck? Let them enjoy their childhood. This is ridiculous. They don't even understand sex until they get older.
Yep.
They don't even know what gender is at that age. You know, it's the sickest thing. And again, all this has been legislated to happen. Why do you think? And the only reason it's being allowed to happen is because people are complying with it because they believe the law is real. They believe, I mean, the law is supposed to be there to protect you.
Yeah.
Really, it's God's law. Do no harm. That's it. That's the only law. And all all this legislation does is cause harm to your children. Oh, we're being tolerant, we're being inclusive. No, you're being demented is what you're doing.
Mm.
And you're asking people to support other people's delusions, and you are promoting these delusions, you know?
Mm.
The other day, there was some guy who looks like a guy who believes he's girl, he's transgender, whatever, and he's had a job as a bus driver. I don't know what country it was in, and he got misgendered so many times at work that he went and jumped in front of a train and killed himself. And they're referring to him as her and rah, rah, rah. And they're blaming society, saying society needs to be more supportive of these people. And the blame isn't on society for that happening. The blame is on the government and the media for supporting this guy's delusion and convincing him that he can be something that he can never be, to the point that he gets depressed and goes and throws himself in front of a train. It's not on us to support your delusions. It's on you for justifying and promoting these delusions in people. And this has been done deliberately. And that's
Mm.
the way it's got to be looked at. And if you're going to try to put me in jail for saying that, then you're trying to put me in jail for acknowledging basic biology. It's
Yeah.
insane what the world's become. And
Mm.
again, this is all legislated to be that way because people are too scared to stand up and call it for what it is because they don't believe in themselves. So stand up, people. You're powerful. And the people that are doing this to you are just people, just like you, that you actually elect to manage infrastructure properly. And look what they've done, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, it's a criminal class, and you can tell it's a criminal class. Exhibit A, the Earth. Every single country on Earth. Look at what has happened to the world in the last 50 years since we allowed these politicians to have free reign.
Yep.
Time to stand up, people.
Mm. And you talk a lot about remembering who you are and believing in yourself. Why is that? Is that the conditioning and the programming that starts in the school system when you fly out of the womb? Like, what is it, and why are people so afraid? What your take?
Well, because they're taught that they have to be. Like
Yeah.
everything's laid out for them in their lives. You don't know anything. The education system's going to teach you. You
Yep.
can't look after yourself. The government's going to do that for you. Your body can't be healthy. You need the pharmaceutical company to inject you with things. You can't support your own food or grow your own food. We don't want to give you those skills. You got to learn how to be someone who makes a lot of money because that's what it's all about. And the supermarket will give you all your food, everything you need. Everything's been done for us. We've been led into this nanny state
Yes.
whereby people grow up and they don't have any life skills at all.
Yep.
And they've been taught all through the scholastic system to not think outside the box, to always support authority and don't think outside the box. Look at this kid over here. He's saying the wrong thing. So we'll put him in the corner and we'll put a dunce hat on him. We'll get the whole class to laugh at him.
Yeah.
So it's bred out of people. Frank Zappa nailed it. Frank Zappa said, um, when he talked about American schools, he said schools train people to be a functional ignoramus. Okay, they give you the criteria you need to function in society, but nothing you need to judge between good and bad. And they deliberately try to weed out any hint of creative thought in the children that are coming through the scholastic system. It says schools train children to be a usable victim for a military industrial complex that needs manpower, you know. And I'm paraphrasing through all that, but if you go onto YouTube and just look up Frank Zappa education, it's an old fuzzy looking clip, but what he says in it is freaking brilliant.
Mm.
And that was back in the 1970s. He was saying that. So
Mm.
that's what the school system does. I mean, the school system is designed to just destroy people. And we're born into families that are already pre-programmed. Like your
Yeah.
parents think they're doing the right thing. They're feeding you all the wrong food and they're teaching you about authority and they're teaching you not to think outside the box and smacking you if you're creative or you express any opinion at all, make too much noise at the dinner table, because you've got to have your child. It's got to be a nice little show thing, a nice little pet for you to show off to your other people. You can't have a
Yes.
child that actually expresses themselves or shows any emotion or anything like that. It's like a fashion accessory for a lot of modern people. So that's what we're kind of born into. And then we go to school, and then come out of school, and once you get out of school and you're actually in the system, well, that just totally disempowers you in every way, shape, and form that it can. Even driving 60k everywhere and you can't go across the lines. Try driving like that in Mexico. You fucking create an accident in Mexico if you started following road rules. It's crazy, because the people can think for themselves. There's never any accidents. Everyone's swerving in and out of everywhere, and it all works. Everyone's good because they can think. They're adults. They know how to look after themselves. They know how to operate a vehicle. They know, you go to other places and fences around everything. Don't step here. Don't walk there. Don't step in the
Yeah,
hole. It's a big fucking hole. Why am I going to step in it? Like the nanny state has taught people never ever believe in themselves. You always need looking after. If you've got a problem, don't go deal with it yourselves. Call the police. But you can't defend yourself against a problem. Oh, there's a guy outside with a big club who wants to beat the shit out of me. Can you send the police over? Well, no, he hasn't actually done anything to you yet. We got to wait till he beats the shit out of you, then call us, and we'll go and get him. It's ridiculous.
yeah, it
It's
is.
ridiculous. So that's the state that the world's in, and Australia is leading the way. Australia is one of the
Yeah,
most controlled countries, one of the most controlled Western countries on earth. I mean, you don't really see it living there, but when you go overseas and spend time in other places, and you go
yeah.
back to Australia, you go, holy shit, it's so controlled. It's incredible. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yep. No, 100% agree with you. 100% agree with everything that you've shared today. I just wanted to ask you another question too. You hinted at it before, and there's no form of self-defense. And, I went down the rabbit hole of the whole, Port Arthur thing too, and they've taken the guns off us. That was pretty pivotal for what they're doing now and what they have done. And you can see it in Canada and other countries as well. And they want the guns off the American people too. We just bent over and took it. And a lot of older people that I've spoken to in the last 5 years, Max, have said, yeah, we were just too busy at the pub drinking and having a good time, not knowing that the e-prison was being built around us. There's a lot of regret out there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I warned them at the time, and you could see that this wasn't what they said.
Yeah.
There's so much investigation you can do into the Port Arthur event, and you find out it wasn't Martin Bryant. He
Mm.
never went to trial. He didn't have the IQ to do what he did. And it certainly didn't have the gun skills.
Yeah.
There's a few instances of shots that were made, and when he even went into the cafe and he was shooting from the hip and getting head and neck shots the whole time. This is what his experienced shooters did this.
Mm.
When the car was shot and coming towards, and they did one shot into the seat to gauge, then they did a shot into the head and into the engine block. This is a known military move. Like if you shoot a driver, you shoot one through the window first into the seat to judge distance, and then you shoot one into the driver's head, and then you put one straight into the engine block so that the car doesn't come forward and run you over.
Mm.
So you cripple the car as well. This was a standard military maneuver that apparently Martin Bryant did that day. The phone conversation when there's he's on the phone to the cops or on the phone to the reporter, and he says he's making sandwiches for your guy here, and you better be careful with your shots because you're going to hit your guy. Because there
Mm.
was a guy in the house, and we're told that Martin Bryant did all these incredible shots, killed all these people in this like Olympic level standard of shooting. And then when there was a police blockade outside the front of the ranch, all these shots were fired. He didn't hit anybody. You know, there was nobody actually struck by a bullet because it was a cop in there that was doing the firing. Martin Bryant was making him sandwiches. And you can hear it on the phone. He's actually making sandwiches for your man who's in here, and you need to be careful or you might hit him. Because he thought he was involved because he's had the IQ of an 8-year-old, this guy. So there's no way that he did any of that. It was a staged event in order to take the weapons away from the Australian people and set an example for the rest of the world. I mean, a lot of the shootings in the United States, none of these things are what they tell us.
Yeah.
Some of them happen, some of them don't even happen, some of them are just media spin. And what happened there the other day, I mean, this is in order to paint, because he had all these anti-Israel stuff there on his weapons. This is to basically paint anybody speaking out against the genocide of Gaza as a terrorist. And again, another attempt to remove the weapons from the people. The people of the United States will never give up their weapons, but they're getting them in other ways, like flooding the place with fentanyl and claiming it's Mexico. And there's a lot of fentanyl that goes over the border from Mexico into the United States, but it's all smuggled in there by Americans, not Mexicans. And most of the labs in northern Mexico that make the fentanyl are all run by Americans, not Mexicans. So, it's a scam. The whole thing is a scam. But even with that, I mean, they've got the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and they've got the Constitution, they've got the Bill of Rights, they've got everything they need to actually stand up and institute new government in the United States. Quite legal for them to do it. They have the weapons to do it. And I guarantee if all of the patriots stood up and got their weapons and went to the government buildings and said, we're taking over, the politicians would run a mile, and most of the police would probably allow them to do it. The military certainly would.
Mm.
Um, and they have the ability to do that in the United States. And they always say, well, they can never take my guns, and if they ever come for me, unless they actually stand up and do that, then they've lost. I
Yeah.
mean, the government has abused its office so many times, going right back to Nixon, right back to when they shot JFK.
Yep.
I mean, the American government was usurped and controlled. When they introduced the Federal Reserve Bank, you know, it all went wrong then, back with Woodrow Wilson. So, you know, they've had so many instances where they should have stood up and they should have looked at their constitution, because you've got a lot of patriotic constitutionalists in America looking at all these. Why don't you do something about it? You've got the guns, you've got the people, you've got the numbers. Why haven't you instituted new government in the United States? Well, because Trump's playing 4D chess and he's going to help us, you know.
Yep.
And yeah, unfortunately, like America is so controlled by Israel now, and the whole free world. I mean, America is the biggest superpower on earth, and if the people of America do not reclaim their country, then that country is dragging the world off a cliff.
Yeah.
And the only people who can, it's a scary thing to think that the only people who can really change the state of the free world or the West is the American people. That's who we need to do it, because they're the only ones with the weapons and with the power and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and everything they need to do it. But they're not doing it. And they've had every opportunity, they've had every reason to for the last 50 years, and nobody stood up. And you can have all the guns and all the bullets and all the shit you want, but you can't eat guns and bullets. And if they're destroying the food chain around you, they're impoverishing you, they're flooding migrants in, they're diverting water from farmland out to the sea, they're bombing all the food plants, they're destroying all the food crops everywhere, they're sending all the money offshore to Israel and Ukraine. I mean, what's it going to take for the American people to stand up and reclaim the country? And really, the entire free world depends on these people doing that. That's a scary thing,
Yeah.
because America is an adolescent culture which has been destroyed right under the noses of the people, but it's been done very gradually. Like I said, I've been going there for like 20 years, and to see what it's like now and see what it was like back then, it's freaky to see. So, yeah, strange times, brother. Strange times. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't see any real way out of this. I think the whole system has to collapse.
Yeah.
It's going to be what comes through that collapse, what state we're in when we go through that collapse. I'm always looking forward to it, because it's been ongoing and ongoing for so many years. I just want to see the whole thing fall apart and have a phoenix rise from the ashes. Maybe
Yes.
that's what it's going to take, you know?
Yeah. And what's going to bring that thing down? Are we the ones that are going to bring that thing down? Because everyone
Well, we're the ones
has,
holding it up.
we are. Yeah.
We're the ones holding it up, but people can't see that because they're
Yeah.
scared of their own power. The
Yeah.
world's all messed up. Someone should fix it. I'll listen to Max's podcast and then I'll hold his coat while he goes out and saves the world, you know?
Yep.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. And that's the thing. You talk a lot about remembering who you are. So, Max, for someone out there that's like asking, I'll probably get a comment on one of the platforms this is on. Max, who are we?
Well, we are powerful. We are humankind. We are consciousness itself.
Hmm.
And the ones that are doing this have no greater power than you do, other than the power that you grant them. You are an
Yeah.
incredible, powerful being that is capable of so many things. Humans are absolutely amazing. Now, like I've said, if you throw yourself to the wind, you can ride it. No stake in the outcome. You came here to die. You came here, I'm 68. I'll be dead in a minute, like a few years, I won't be here anymore. So why am I so concerned about what stuff I can gather and what sort of, have I left the world a better place because I existed? Have I really found myself? You come here to experience you. And we're prevented from doing that because we've got all these rules from other people who we think have power over us, but they only have the power that we grant them.
Hmm.
But like I said, I mean, I don't have the power to put you in a cage. How do they have that power over me if they're saying I granted them that power? They make it all up. It's just it's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud. Government Gubermente, mind control, control mind. That's what government means. Gubernator and mente. Gubernator is control, mente is mind. That's what government is. And even if these people had any power or legitimate authority, they've abdicated that privilege through all the stuff that they've done. Look at our societies. Look at the genocide in Gaza. Look how much you're paying to be alive now,
Yeah.
all because it's been legislated to happen. You can't even go into forests in Nova Scotia anymore. You can't
Yes.
go into the forest because you might get caught in a forest fire. Well,
Hmm.
actually, no, you might break your leg and get caught in a forest fire. They're trying to make up. But you can't go into the bush. You
Yep.
can't go. You can't go walking in the forest. What the fuck? We don't employ government to do this sort of shit. You're supposed to be there to make sure the trains run on time, to make sure the food trucks work. We employ you to manage infrastructure for us in a responsible manner because we have these ridiculous things called cities that we're all packed into and told the world's overpopulated. If you think the
Yeah.
world's overpopulated, get in a plane and fly from Brisbane to Sydney and have a look out of the window and tell me how much overpopulation you see. It's because
Yeah.
people are crammed into cities. The world isn't overpopulated. You could put every single person in the world in a city the size of Texas, right? Every single person on Earth. You could give every single person on Earth a quarter acre of land and have them fit in an area about the size of Europe. Everybody on Earth with a quarter acre of land, every man, woman, and child, right, with a quarter acre of land, and they'd fit in something like not even as big probably as
Yep.
Europe. So if, like I said, if you put it in one city, not even a high-rise city, just a city of normal suburban houses, they'd fit in a city the size of Texas. Every single person on Earth. So the world isn't overpopulated. It's badly managed deliberately, you know. And we are powerful. We don't have to deal with this. If we just say no, like I said, you realize that you're dealing with a criminal cabal here. If you're working for them, stop working for them. Don't be their secretaries. Don't be their food suppliers. Don't sell them gasoline. Don't have them come to your restaurants. Don't contract out to them. Don't supply them with paper. Don't supply them with computers. Don't sell things to government, to politicians. That would be a great thing to see. And we're the ones that are holding it all up because we don't believe in our own power. What people have to understand is that the politicians are the same as them. They're just people, and you don't have to do what you say. And like I said, even if they had any authority at all, they've abdicated that privilege through their own actions, Exhibit A, the earth. So it's time we call it. People have got to believe in themselves, and like I said, that is the scariest thing for people to actually take responsibility for their own lives, and that's why we don't see so many people do it. We'll say, well, yeah, the government's corrupt, we need to get rid of them, but who can we put in their place? Not me. Even though I want to be free, I'm just not prepared to be free. It's crazy. But again, it's education. It's what people have been taught to do. I mean, even saying we need to get rid of government, I guess we would need some sort of interim government in place because people are simply not capable of governing themselves and
Yeah.
managing their own lives.
Mm.
Dismiss these people, express a loss of confidence, get some honest people in there, and the first thing you do is put in a proper education system, which
100%.
doesn't teach 5-year-olds that they can change gender and actually teaches life skills to people.
Yeah.
Grow a garden. The last year of high school, everybody should be taught how to grow a garden, how to how
Yes.
to look after themselves, how to build a house, how to set themselves up as being self-sufficient. Should be in the last year of high school or whatever. I mean, I think personally people should be granted some sort of block of land, a way of having a place to build a house. Every single person who's born in Australia should be given a house block somewhere in the city that they're born in. And the last year of high school, we would have them people working like the Amish. You can go and build a barn or a house in a day with the Amish the way they do it.
Mm.
I mean, you could have everybody in the class spend the last year of high school going and building each other's houses, and then putting in gardens and supply and setting themselves up. That would be a great thing to do. And teach people life skills and teach people self-responsibility. Teach them integrity. You
Yes.
know, the goodness of helping other people, how that comes back to you. It's all a mirror. It's all a reflection.
Yeah.
We're taught to be competitive, all this sort of business bullshit. You've got to be respectful and tolerant and all sorts of stuff. And when you get in the business world, it's ruthless. You've got to get there and just cutthroat. So it's completely opposite. Forget all that shit. Life is about being the best that you can possibly be with the skills that are given to you. Not even the best version of yourself, just being yourself to the fullest of your potential. And we're not taught any of that. So that what needs to happen. You put that in a scholastic system, and over 2 generations, you're going to have a different world.
Yeah.
I guess as that goes on, government would get smaller and smaller and smaller. But if you're going to have government, it needs to be people that are managing infrastructure in a proper way and teaching people what it means to be human and getting them to express themselves. Because everybody has their own personal genius. Everybody is good at something, you know, but they might be told, oh, that's just wasting time, or that's this or that's that. My son asked me once, he said, what's the secret to getting through life, Dad? And I said, well, since you live in a society where everybody has to pay to be alive, and they're all working jobs that they hate because they've got to put a roof over their head and put bread on the table, what you do is you find what it is that you love to do more than anything, and do as much of that as you possibly can until you get really, really good at it. And when you're really, really good at it, someone will pay you to do that. And then you'll have a job that you love. I said, I loved listening to music. So I listened to so much music when I was younger. I ended up getting a lot of work as a sound engineer because I can hear what music should sound like. When I left doing that, I mean, I've always been kind of creative and artistic. So then I started making films and doing podcasts and doing everything I'm doing now. I've always looked after myself and lived my own life. Before I was in bands. When I wasn't in bands, I was doing artwork and selling it on the street, or making pottery and selling it at markets or whatever. Just artistic stuff, And I was good at what I found that anything I apply myself to, I can be good at, So that's what you do. You find what it is you love to do. That's how to get through life. Be the best you can possibly be at being yourself, because you are perfect at being you. No one can be you better than you. So why would you consider yourself less than perfect? Why would you consider yourself any less than anybody else? Simply because they were born with different skills and different likes and different attributes to you. Respect that diversity, but not racial diversity, intermingling our races and LGBTQ and all that shit. Just the diversity of consciousness of what it means to be a human. And
Yeah.
respect everybody else's diversity of consciousness and be the best you can at being you. That's what life's about. Why aren't we taught any of this in school? And why aren't we encouraged? Teachers should be looking at students and finding the little genius. What does this child love to do more than anything? Encourage
Yes.
them to do that. Encourage them to do that. Encourage them to be that and to believe in themselves. But don't do that. Don't do that. You've got to do maths and look at this and look at this history. Do this. And if you don't regurgitate what's in the book, you get a dunce hat and sit in the corner. Get rid of that system.
Yeah.
This is child abuse. Modern school is child abuse. It's you do what you're told under threat of punishment. That's called terrorism.
Yeah.
That's called terrorism. Violence or the threat of violence carried out against individuals, often for political reasons. That's what terrorism is. That's a definition of terrorism, and that's what our scholastic system is. That's what our legal system is. You walk between the lines, you drive at 60k, oh, we're going to fine you, we're going to beat you, we're going to do this. That's what police do. You do what you're told, or I'm going to kick the shit out of you. That is terrorism. And that's what we're taught. And that's what the whole scholastic system is based on. So I think I see where the problem started.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's the sort of system we need to have in place. But the only people who can implement that system is us. And the only way we can do that is by calling these criminals out for what they are. Don't beat around the bush. Don't enter into their legal system. Come out of the building and show cause why you shouldn't be dismissed simply because of the state of the world that you have legislated to happen, you know?
Simple as that. Yeah. Max, I really appreciate you giving your time to my audience and my platform today. You've probably given the final word just then. But as my audience is a tad younger and they might have just put something together today from all the dots that you have connected, I always learn something from you every time I hear you speak, mate. So I do thank you for what you do. But if there's one thing you would like to say to someone out there that's young and just starting out in the world, what would be your advice to that person? You might have already said it in that little spiel just then.
Yeah, like I said to my son, find what it is you love to do and do the best version, the best of it that you can. Believe in yourself. Understand that what you came here to do is to experience you to the best of your potential. Do not let anyone limit that potential. Always believe in yourself. And if the system is messing you around, well, step away from it. Like I said, you throw yourself to the wind and you can ride it. And that's what I've done since I left school in grade 10. I'm 68 years old now. That was back when I was like 17. So, believe in yourself and you can do this. Don't have all these expectations of what success is. You're taught to measure yourself and your own life and your own worth by parameters given to you by a system which doesn't give a shit about you. They're not
Yeah,
your parameters. They're never nurturing what it means to be you. And being you is what you came here to do.
100%.
You shouldn't have any expectations on anything else. Like I said, respect the diversity in people. Find what it is you love to do. Be the best at being you that you possibly can. And understand it's a mirror too. It's an emotional mirror. What goes around comes around. Give unconditionally, but don't allow yourself to be taken from. If you follow the one law of creation, which is unconditional love and service to creation, which doesn't mean service to others at the expense of yourself, doesn't mean service to yourself at the expense of others, doesn't mean service to the earth at the expense of the human race, doesn't mean service to the human race at the expense of the earth. Do what it means to be right. Do the right thing in all that you do. Think about it, before you say things, before you act. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? Those three things in all your life, and you'll find your way through this path. And don't let all the confusion just get to you. Just realize you came here to experience being you, and that everybody's a mirror reflection. I mean, I finish every radio show that I do with the words "in Lakesh," which means I am another yourself. We are all reflections of a greater consciousness, simply experiencing itself subjectively. I call every person a thought in the mind of God, you
Mm,
know, and we're just one consciousness having a conversation with itself. And once you can respect the diversity and individualness of every other person that you come across and see yourself in that, we change the world in a day. We change the world in 3 seconds if people just had this epiphany of what was really going on here. So it's all coming to the surface now. This is an opportunity for you to really see yourself and realize that all this shit, you don't have to do any of it. It's only happening because most people don't believe in themselves and they don't see themselves in others. And it's an opportunity for you to see that now. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's heading to a crescendo and it has to collapse. But like I said, it's going to be what comes through the other side. And if we have enough people with that right attitude and living in integrity, then we can create a golden age from this point. So it's an
100%.
opportunity for us to do that. So yeah, thanks for having me on, Nathan. It's been
Nah,
a pleasure to
yeah,
chat with you.
thanks for accepting my invitation and thanks for getting back to my email. I emailed you 2 years ago. We had a lot going on in Mexico at the time, so I'm very grateful. I circled back and you replied within a day, so I'm very, very grateful for that too, mate. Where can people find you if someone's new to you right now?
Like I said, very hard to find.
Yeah,
You can go to BitChute and look for the Crowhouse channel on BitChute. I've got the Crowhouse official on Telegram. You can find Max the Crowhouse on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. The Crowhouse on Odyssey, the Crowhouse on Rumble, Crowhouse official. I mean on Rumble, and that's about it. I mean I'm banned everywhere. I'm,
yeah.
I'm banned everywhere, like Facebook, YouTube. Like I said, my YouTube account is open again, but I'm not falling for the trap. They'll just close it again as soon as I upload to it. But I'm banned in most places. But if you just search Max Egan, Igan, there's only one. There's nobody else with that last name. So you'll find me. And yeah, thanks for having me on. And
Yeah.
I look forward to more interviews and more chats.
100%. Definitely get back on the future, Max. Thank you so much for everything that you've given to humanity over the last 50 years. I know I found you in the last five, and I thank Dale for that. I really appreciate everything you've done. You've helped me on my journey. You probably don't know that, but you have. And you've helped me again today in that last half an hour. You spoke to my heart. So I appreciate you and all you do, mate. And I'm really, really glad that this happened today. So thank you once again, mate. To my audience, thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.